Hello, people. This is Jesse here. I hope you're having a fantastic time. Today is Sunday, 17th of August, 2025. We're going to do the Premiership, of course, EPL, what is going on now. So, as at the time of me coming here, Eberechi Eze I just scored a fantastic goal for Crystal Palace against Chelsea. Chelsea have spent all the money in the world. They've probably in the last 2 years they've spent like 1.5 billion pounds, and here we are. But it's been checked by VAR. So while they're checking it, let's um, look at the other match that is going on now. That's Nottingham Forest versus Brentford, and of course, Nottingham Forest are leading. And who else? Oh, the Palace goal has been disallowed, so it's back to 0-0. So that is not supposed to happen for Eberechi Eze. We do hope that it scores another clean goal. Anyway, Chris Wood has opened the scoring for Forest, and that one stood. So it's 1-0, to Forest. And I think Chris Wood is picking up from where he left off, in the last season and the season before. So Chris Wood, if you remember, is a New Zealand, player, striker that people did not give enough credit, and he's been proving himself in the Premiership at different teams. And now he's at Forest. I think he's enjoying it there, and he's banging into goals. So he's the one stopping one of our boys in Nottingham Forest from that number 9 position. So we do hope that he keeps banging it in. So today, actually, we're going to focus on two things. We're going to look at the outstanding transfer issues, and of course, the reason why I came online is to preview the match between Manchester City and Arsenal. So that is what we're going to be doing today. So now let's look at the outstanding issues in the transfer market and then talk around those ones, and then we can come back and look at what is going on with the match that we're all waiting for. Manchester United versus Arsenal. That is the match we're waiting for. Now, there's no excuse for Arteta. You're not going to tell us, oh, the pitch is slippery, there's too much rain, oh, I didn't get the guys that I wanted to sign, blah blah blah. We don't want no more excuses, right? So it's either you stand up this time and win something major, or you go home. That's it. So Manchester United, they've done really well in the transfer market, but not. They still needed some additions to be, fully, fantastic. But we'll talk about that later. Let's look at all of the outstanding issues in the transfer market. So we saw Newcastle play yesterday. It was a lethargic nil-nil game that they played yesterday, and um, e- even when they were playing one man down on the other side, they still could not find a way, to go. So it was obvious that they were missing a striker. Had they had Alexander Isak in that game, they would have won it easily. So they were offing and puffing and all of that. But my stand is, the situation is, Isak is actually looking for a way out of Newcastle. He's been approached by Liverpool to play for them. And according to reports, especially from David Ornstein, we we knew that Newcastle told Liverpool they can make an approach. So Liverpool submitted 110 million pound, you know, offer, but for some reason it was publicly and firmly rejected. And since that time, um, Alexander Isak has refused, to play, to even train for Newcastle. And they said to every stories there are two sides, right? Newcastle is saying, here we paid, we gave him an offer. He's got 3 years left on his contract, and is our highest paid, player. So that is what Newcastle is telling the world. They're saying Alexander Isak is the villain here. He's ungrateful. He is this, is that. But that is one side of the story. The second side of the story that we heard was that Isak told Newcastle last season that he was going to leave. And they said to Isak, you know what? We will let you leave, but we bought you for a lot of money, and we've invested in you, and we want to make a whole lot of money back. So sign this contract. Let's have what is called a gentleman's agreement behind the contract. That happens a lot. It happened at Liverpool with Sadio Mane. Sadio said, I want to leave. I want out of Liverpool. And Klopp said, look, I need you for one more season. Sign the contract. When the time comes, we will let you go. So that was what happened to Sadio Mane. After he finished that season, he moved on to Bayern Munich. So I can cite you many, many, cases like that. So I've heard, okay, let me finish the story. So Alexander Isak said, now let me go. I need to leave. And Newcastle are saying, oh, we can't sign a striker. We've scoured the market. We have not got a striker that we needed. So you can't go. That is blackmail. And then they go around and start to blackmail him. But he's not said a word to us directly from himself. So we've just been hearing PR that's been put out by Isak's camp and then Newcastle camp. But as far as I'm concerned, you cannot force a player who does not want to play for you just on the basis of, oh, he signed a contract. What is it? What is the rule? The rule is you can only, for refusing to train, you can only dock him 6 weeks' wages. That's it. That's it. And let me tell you, the PR issues, the reputational issues around this saga, actually is 30% on Isak and 70% negative on Newcastle. Why did I say that? Newcastle as a team needs to recruit players. And if they want to be part of the top four regularly, they need to recruit top players. When you're recruiting top players have options in the market. So you cannot deal with them the same way you deal with average players. So somebody might look at it and say, okay, Newcastle, look at what they've done to Isak, their best player in 30 years. Right? And there were two things they would do. They would either say, I want a clause in my contract to leave, or I'm not joining. And when did you leave, or if they sign a contract with you and you want them out, they will not leave. They will say, I've got a contract, I need to take all my money. So the fact that Newcastle wants to go up there and they are showing to the world that this is how we're going to treat gentlemen's agreements that we have with our people is not going to augur well for Newcastle. As for Isak, even if Liverpool does not sign him today, there will be, as long as it's available on the market, as soon as he's available, there will be a minimum of 5 teams struggling for a signature, regardless of what has happened with Newcastle. So this is the issue. And look at how it's affecting Newcastle the more. Because you have this cloud of uncertainty over you, it's affecting the players. So if a player say, I don't want to be here anymore, let him go. Let him go. And Eddie Howe, the coach of Newcastle, coming out to spin nonsense. That is not going to work either. We have had what happened in Liverpool. Um, some of the players, Fabinho, for instance, released information, and he said to reporters basically and said, "Look, I could have been at Liverpool, but when I got this offer from Saudi, I approached Klopp, and Klopp said, look, I'm not going to start in the way of anyone who wants to leave Liverpool. So, look, if players don't want to be in your team, let them go as soon as possible so that you can concentrate on the others. Now, because they're trying to force the hands of Isak, they lost out on other players that they could have got. And how does that look in the eyes of the watching people? Newcastle is not big enough of a club to attract names and stars. That's how it is. Not Eddie Howe, not Newcastle. They can't afford and attract these stars. So before I lay low on this issue, yesterday there was Rooney and then of course Alan Shearer on BBC, also saying they were slating Isaac, you know. Okay. Keep the comments coming. Yemi, I can well done to you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me. Let's make this a fantastic, broadcast. Keep the comments coming, please. I enjoy reading your comments. So as I was saying, yeah, there was Alan Shearer just lambasting Isaac. And the point is this: it is your club that cannot. We've seen white players do this often. I'm not going to play, I'm not going to do this. Okay, leave that part of it out. Let's go to what is happening currently. Johan Wieser of Brentford that Newcastle wants to sign has also gone. It didn't train. Even today, the team that is playing today, it was left out of the team that's playing today, right? So there was Alan Shearer saying, "Oh, this is what I'm going to do. Liverpool should be wary of a player that is down in tools and is not going to play for this team and blah 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 blah." Shut up, Alan Shearer. Shut up. Because your team, Newcastle, is going to play Johan Wieser that's also refusing to play for Brentford, right? So this is hypocrisy. We're all hypocrites. So let's cut to the chase and understand that this is about value. If a player does not value your team anymore and you don't value him, you cannot force your value on other people. And Rooney sitting down there and talking nonsense. He has also handed in transfer request before, and he says he keeps training. Yeah, you can keep training because you are British or you are English. So you're within your own culture. How many English footballers have gone to Italy and Spain and have had issues? So you're not looking at what's happening to Ademola Lookman with Atalanta. What have you got to say about it? Okay, before I, go to the other teams, I want to tell you what Mikel Antonio told the newspaper called 442, right? Now, let me give you a background to Mikel Antonio. Mikel Antonio is a Jamaican international, and he could play for England as well because I think he was brought to England when he was just a little boy. And he played for West Ham for 10 years. 10 years. And not on a huge salary. He was just loyal. He was loyal to West Ham. Then just last season, mid last season, he had an accident, a really bad accident, auto accident. And it came through. And if you remember, He played about 20 minutes for the Jamaican national team. Do you know what West Ham did? They refused to renew his contract. They just thought, oh, this guy is spent and he's got an accident as well. Why should we help him out? All they needed to have done for Mikel Antonio was renew his contract for just 1 more year. So that within that 1 more year, he could come to full fitness and get himself ready. He'd have to sign for a foreign team or go into the championship. They did not do that. In fact, they just announced on social media that Mikel Antonio is gone from the club. They're not even planning a testimonial match. They are not planning a testimonial match. And this is what he's got to say. He said, loyalty in the game has gone. Obviously, I was at West Ham for 10 years. That loyalty doesn't last anymore. Clubs no longer treat players like they used to. We are meat to them. As soon as we start going stale, it's time to throw away. Now it's all about the money. That is what Mikel Antonio has to say. And if you are able to read between the lines, that guy is echoing regrets. Yeah, who's going to pick up his bills? How is he going to survive? We often look at these players. I often told people, do you know the standard of living for a footballer is quite high? So when you stop playing, you have to downsize. And if you've not saved, you need to plan your exit, from the game. Now, this is not a planned exit. This guy might probably, not have planned very well. We don't know what that means for his future. So this is what we say when we say you cannot force players to play for you. So that's where I'll put it on the Newcastle and Alexander Isak escalating tensions. Now let's go to Crystal Palace. So Eberechi Eze and Mark Gahey, who on more sports we like to go into their ethnic background. Eberechi Eze is English, is British, but it's got heritage from Nigeria, from the eastern part of Nigeria. He's an Igbo guy. So, and then Mark Gahey, let me show you who Mark Gahey. Mark Gahey is Ivorian. He was actually born in Ivory Coast, right? If you can see here, his name is Aji Kianekin Mark Israel Gahey. He was born 13th of July 2000, right? And plays for Crystal Palace and England national team. So I think early life, that is what is important here. Let's go to the early life part. He was born on 13th of July 2000 in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. That is where Mark Gahey was born, and moved with his family to Lewisham, London, England, at the age of 1. So it was less than 12 months when he was born before he relocated to the UK. And he attended St. George's Church of England School in Gravesend, Kent. And his father was a minister of the local church, meaning his childhood was often focused on religion over education and education over football. He began playing for Cray Wanderers youth system age 6 and was coached by a scout from Premier League club Chelsea. So that's the history of Mark Gahey, right? And both of them are being slated to leave Crystal Palace. So, but the gaffer is playing them today. Let's check the scores and see. So it's still 1-0 to Nottingham Forest, and it's still 0-0 between Chelsea and Crystal Palace. Eze's goal was disallowed, and both of them, despite being linked, to a move away from Crystal Palace, Oliver Gardner the German coach of Crystal Palace confirmed that they will be playing this game, and they're playing it. So where this stands is, uh, the problem is that for Gay, his contract runs out if he plays next season. Next summer, his contract runs out. That means if he's not sold, it goes for free. Crystal Palace hasn't got anything to make, from his departure. But if they sell him now, they can get value for him. Liverpool is allegedly offering £35 million, but Crystal Palace are holding out for 45 million pounds plus add-ons. So who is foolish? Who is wise? So I think Crystal Palace has been foolish here. They've had underlying issue of, they were supposed to, as the FA Cup winners, they were supposed to play in the Europa Cup. Yeah. But because they have a problem, the owner has interest in another club, and that's against UEFA rules. It did not disclose that on time, so they've been demoted to the conference, league. So conference league does not pay you a lot of money. I think if you win Conference Cup, you get paid around less than 20 million pounds. And if you sell Magay for 35 million, you're already in profit. So I don't know what's going on with that. Now for Eberechi Eze is was wanted by Arsenal all through the off season. It was Arsenal linked to Eberechi Eze. But for whatever reason, Arteta is not coming up with the goods. But the sporting director at Arsenal, they're not coming up with the goods. So Tottenham, they've swooped in, to get this guy. So word on the street is that Eberechi Eze is going to go to Tottenham. And him going to Tottenham is going to give them an advantage over Arsenal, because that is a seriously good team that they've got in there. It's a seriously good team that they've got in Tottenham. So I don't know. Yeah, Chelsea with Arteta, I don't really understand how that's going to go, but we'll come to that later. So let's look at other issues that are in Chelsea, for instance. The coach, Enzo Maresca, has been crying out for defensive reinforcements. And the board, they've spent so much and they don't want to pay. So we do know that there are injury. There's a major injury that to Levi Colwill, and Levi Colwill is going to be out for most of the season. So it's not, it's not in the season at all. So that means Chelsea needs another proven striker. Even before today's match, Tosin Adarabioyo, another Nigerian heritage English player, also picked up an injury. And that's where they are. They need to bring in more bodies. And because they have bottomless pits of money to spend, they always, try to. Enzo Maresca is just like Pep Guardiola. If I don't have what I need, go out into the market and just buy me a player. They're not like Klopp. 2 years ago, Klopp was playing teenagers as and he got top 4 with unknown teenagers, in the back line. So we have this new set of coaches. If I don't have what I want, I need to go out and get it for me. They think it's a supermarket and they have bottomless pits of money. Let's go and spend. So that is a problem that they've got at the moment. But nobody's going to cry a river over Chelsea. Let's look at all of the players they've signed. In the summer from 2024 downwards, they've bought Omari Kellyman for 19 million. They got to Sinadara on a free. They bought Mark Giu. They brought in Kenan Dewsbury Hall, Renato Veiga, Caleb Wiley, Philip Jorgensen, Aaron Anselmino, Pedro Neto, and Joao Felix. That was in 24. Now they've brought in so many more, players, into the team. They've brought in Jamie Gittens, they've brought in Esteval, they've brought in Liam Delap. How many players? In fact, in the last 2, 3 seasons, they've bought almost 60 players. Come on now. You can't be crying out for another defender. Get serious. Get serious, guys. This is not kids' game. So that is the issue with Chelsea. Now let's go to Manchester. So let me recap before I go to Manchester. There's an issue that is not being discussed with all of these transfers that is going on. There's a major issue of finance and how that might affect, the Premiership and the teams, why they're calling for PSR, financial regulations. Now, there's a broader club level financial and transfer constraints. So there's debts, problem of debts. Premier League clubs are increasingly saddled with future transfer payments. Now, out of all of these clubs, who has the fat payment to make? The highest the fat payment to make? Chelsea, they have the highest payables at approximately £491 million. That's debt. Manchester United have around 391 million. You see, when they do all of these signings and they say, oh, no team actually pays everything up front. Like when Liverpool start Florian Wirtz, they will tell you what they need to be paid, what needs to be paid right now, and what could be paid instrumentally. So in the case of Florian Wirtz, out of that £116 million, I think the immediate payment was £80 million, yeah, and the rest was staggered over a period of time. Now, for Manchester United, they have to pay 391 million in the future, in the not too distant future. But 200 million pound of those is due within 12 months. They have to find 200 million pound and pay that within 12 months. They are obligated to. It's a legal transaction and requirement. So when they wanted to sign Baleba and they were given a bill of another 120 million pound, that is an impossibility. So remember, the acquisition amount is not the full amount. So let's say you sign Baleba for 120 million. If it's on a salary of just, let's for academic purposes, say 10 million a year, right? That 10 million a year is 30 million in 3 years. If it's got 5 million, if it's got a 5-year contract, right? So that will be 50 million that you need to, spend on that player. So that's the way it is, guys. Tottenham, 337 million in payables. Now, Arsenal, City, Liverpool, and Newcastle also carry significant installments of liabilities ranging between 123 million and 268 million. So I think those liabilities are down majorly to City and Newcastle. So the Premier League is investigating potentially inflated swap-like transfer, like Martin to Villa and Kellyman to Chelsea. You know, clubs are always looking to sidestep, these rules, and Premier League is saying no. You have to stick to PSR rules. They've pointed out the Martin to Villa deal and Kellyman to Chelsea deal. So FIFA's revised, schedule, creating a pre-club World Cup window may prompt a split transfer window in the Premier League, heightening strategic complexity. So this season, we had 2 transfer windows sort of, the first 4 weeks or 6 weeks, and then there was a break of a week or 2 weeks, and then now we're back. So that is because of the club Copa. So that's likely what is happening in the world. So now let us specifically go and review today's match. Right. So right now, Nottingham Forest, Dan Indoye scored a header, and it is 2-0 to Nottingham Forest against Brentford. Dan Indoye, big up. Keep it going. So Brentford are going to struggle. Brentford are going to struggle. They're always going to struggle. Remember, they just also sold. Uh, they sold a few of their players, and they're recruiting. They're still busy recruiting. So it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while before they settle down. And the problem with Brentford is not even the player recruitment, as far as I'm concerned. It has to do with coaching. Now, Thomas Frank went over to Tottenham, and what did they do? They just promoted his assistant to manage Brentford. That is not going to work. And it was a former PE guy, whatever it's called, but it's not going to work. That's what I believe. Is not really going to work. So yeah, that is the situation at the moment. So uh, now Amorim. Last season, Ruben Amorim of Man United, has shown us he could play fantastic football like he demonstrated in Portugal. But the problem that has gone on is implementing the same idea and the same structure and the same system. And Man United has been a problem. And that has created quite a lot of issues with the club's players. So quite Ganacho doesn't want to play for him anymore. Who was quite a lot of player. Rashford left because of that. So in his bid to stamp authority on the team, stamp his authority on the team, what has he been doing? He's been rubbing up the older players in the wrong way. So that has created a lot of problems. So I do think that is not filling me with confidence. On the other side, however, he has signed some fantastic players. So when you are able to bring in Benjamin Sesko, that Arsenal wanted at all costs, that Newcastle wanted at all costs, that is some kind of coup. It means that, imagine that Shesko will not go to Arsenal. Shesko will not go to Newcastle, but Shesko is going to Man United. That means Man United still have this pool as a global club, football club that is well respected. Newcastle are not that. They're never going to be. I don't know, but they're not that. So they've got Mateus Cunha as well. That was the guy who ran the show at Wolves. He ran the show at Wolves, and you saw what happened to Wolves yesterday. With Man City, they were totally torn apart. They were torn apart, shredded. So there was no fight back. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see that fight. In the Wolves of the past would have, I kind of like, fought back. And also they got Brian Mbeumo from Brentford. So looking at those three players and the additions that have been there and the preseason that they had, while everybody was going this way, they settled down and had a proper preseason. I do think that is going to be key in this game. And for Arsenal, they've brought in a lot of players. Oh, They brought in Victor Yokeres. Victor Yokeres. They brought in Martin Zubimendi. Yeah. They brought in Noni Madueke. They brought in Christian Nogat. They brought in Kepa Arrizabalaga. But it looks like they're not going to get Eze. Eberechi Eze is not coming to Arsenal. And I thought that if Eberechi Eze comes to Arsenal, Arsenal is going to be the team to beat. Why did I say that? People underrate Eberechi Eze a lot. And I do think that Florian Wirtz have only got that small edge, that very small edge over Eberechi Eze. And Eberechi Eze as a head, as a edge over every other players in that position that is just coming into the league, because it's been in this league for 4 years now. It's been in the Premiership for 4 years, and it's been a star performer. Star performer. So for me, that is going to be key. So today's match is going to be key. So Arteta really can't complain about anything, and is not going to give us any excuse, because he's going to compete with quite a lot of heavyweights, this time around. Uh, yeah, so he is going to that. But they have an edge to win this game, because if you look at the Manchester squad, when you lose Rashford, you're losing Garnacho, Sancho, Anthony, and Malacia. The cohesion is gone. Put that to a coach that is unwilling to change his tactics and his system, then you have quite a lot of issues, right? So Arsenal do have the edge, in the sense that Arsenal is the only top 4 team that has the least changes to its playing system. So it is going to be the one that we look forward to. And in closing, I would say that Arsenal will have to compete with Liverpool. Liverpool, they are still trying to find a system that works. Too many experienced players left. Diaz played quite a lot for Liverpool, and sadly, Diogo Jota was lost, and Nunes has left. So when you look at all of these departures, not only are you going to miss them as players, they carry loads of experience within the team. So when you're bringing in other, players, you need time to put them in. So it might take the first 6 to 7 games for them to be properly bedded in, especially if Liverpool gets McGahey and Alexander Isak. It's going to take some stopping. It's going to take a lot of effort to stop them. That's number one. Man City, oh, this guy called Tijani Reinders. Oh my God. That guy, they lost the playmaker, but this guy, Tijani Reinders, is been the one that's pulling all the strings in that team. And he's a joy to watch. Is a joy to watch. So I think they're going to really compete this season. They signed Ryan Cherky. Although I don't rate him that much, but he's a fantastic player. We saw the goal he scored yesterday. It was almost an individual goal. And Omar Mamouche, is also a fantastic player. So Arsenal really can't, let their guards down this season. It's this thing is between Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, and Chelsea. So Chelsea are really doing very well, minus the issue that they've got with the it's now 3-0 to um to Nottingham Forest. So wow, this is a hiding. They really They're pounding Brentford. They're pounding Brentford. So Chris Wood has scored a brace. So that is his second goal. You know, deserved. It's a deserved, and it's just the half time, and they're leading 3-0. What might happen in the second half? I don't know. Brentford is not looking good. It's not looking good at all. It's not looking good at all. So I don't know. Yeah. So I think they've given why the Eze goal was disallowed was a whole load of nonsense, from as usual from the VAR. If I read it to you, you'll not be able to make a head or tail out of it. Let me read it regardless. It says after VAR review, the referee overturned the original decision of goal to Crystal Palace. Referee announcement. After review, away number 6 is less than 1 meter away from the wall as the shot is taken. Therefore, it's an indirect free kick and a disallowed goal. I don't know, but it is what it is. So it's still nil-nil between Crystal Palace and Chelsea. Both of them are London clubs. So yeah, they are playing for glory. They're playing for glory. So yeah, it's we're waiting uh for I'm just going to leave the studio and straight off to the game that we've been waiting for. And that's why I have kept, you company, all this while. So if you look at let's go to okay, this is what I'm looking for. So it's Chelsea Neil. I think this is, I need to refresh it. Okay, so you can see it refreshed. So halftime, Chelsea nil, Crystal Palace nil. Halftime, Nottingham Forest 3, Brentford 0. But this is the match we're waiting for. This is Man United versus Arsenal. You know, Arsenal fans, just pray that you win this match. That's all I'm going to say. Just pray you win this match. If you don't, we'll be there. We'll be there. We'll be there in your faces. We'll be there in your faces. So, guys, thank you for staying with me through here. If you have not, what happens is that after 30 days, all of our live shows on Facebook gets you know gets deleted, the live shows, so you may not see it on there. So if you go, you see all of our stories. We reported about Moses Itauma, who stopped Dillian White in round one in Saudi Arabia last night. And we did say to you that Moses Itauma is of both Nigerian and Slovakian heritage. And he was born quite close to, in Kent, quite close to where McGay was also born. So he was born in Chatham, and McGay was born in Gravesend. So there's just a journey of 10, 12 minutes drive. And so we do always want to make sure that you know the African heritage of these players, who are doing us, well. So that's our Facebook site. Please, continue to share. The more, if you enjoy the stuff we're doing for you, if you enjoy the content that we're bringing you, please share all our stories, share it to your friends, share it to your groups. It does help us out. It does help us out. It does help us to get, to more people, and that's why we can give you quite a lot of content. So also, if you miss um, any of the deleted um, live shows that we've got on Facebook, right? This is where you need to go. This is where you need to go. You need to go to our page on YouTube. This is our page on YouTube. And you can go there. You can see all the videos we have. You can see all of this content that we've been bringing you. We've been bringing you content. We have over 167 videos right there. And we're going to do quite a lot, especially for the coming AFCON in Morocco. We're going to put quite a lot of content in here. So if you go there and see all of our videos, you can see that we've got our documentaries in there. We've got all our live shows in there. We've got all our curated shows in there. So go there, make comments, share to your family, share to your friends, help us out. We need to push this to where like 2007 subscribers, but we need to push this up really, really far more than this. We need to go to 10K first. That is the first milestone we need to get to. So we will appreciate your help, in doing that. So keep with us. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the coming week.